The Pushkin State Museum of Fine Arts is the largest museum of European art in Moscow, located in Volkónka Street, just opposite the Cathedral of Christ the Savior. The international musical festival Sviatoslav Richter's December Nights has been held in the Pushkin Museum since 1981. Etymology. The museum's current name is somewhat misleading, in that it has no direct associations with the famous Russian poet Alexander Pushkin, other than as a posthumous commemoration of his name and fame. The facility was founded by Professor Ivan Svetev. Svetev persuaded the millionaire and philanthropist Yuri Nechayev-Maltsov and the fashionable architect Roman Klein of the urgent need to give Moscow a fine arts museum. After going through a number of name changes, particularly in the transition to the Soviet era and the return of the Russian capital to Moscow, the museum was finally renamed to honor the memory of Pushkin in 1937, the 100th anniversary of his death. Building. The Pushkin State Museum of Fine Arts building was designed by Roman Klein and Vladimir Shukov and financed primarily by Yuri Nechayev-Maltsov. Construction work began in 1898 and continued till 1912. Ivan Ryberg headed structural engineering effort on the museum site for 12 years, till 1909. In 2008, President Dmitry A. Medvedev announced plans for a $177 million restoration, a RBN $22 billion expansion, developed by Norman Foster in collaboration with local architectural firm MOSPROJECT5, was confirmed in 2009, but became mired in disputes with officials and preservationists, and concern grew that it would not be completed on schedule for 2018. After Moscow's chief architect Sergei Kuznetsov issued an ultimatum, demanding that Foster take a more active role in the project and prove his commitment by coming to the Russian capital within a month. Norman Foster's firm resigned from the project in 2013. In 2014, Russian architect Yuri Grigoryan and his firm Project Meganom were chosen to take over the project. Grigoryan's design provides new modern buildings and, following the protest of heritage groups who campaigned to save the pre-revolutionary architecture, preserves the historic 1930s gas station near the Pushkin's main building inside a glass structure. Collection. Fine art collection. Svetev's dream was realized in May 1912, when the museum opened its doors to the public. The museum was originally named after Alexander III, although the government provided only 200,000 rubles toward its construction, in comparison with over 2 million from Nechayev-Maltsev. Its first exhibits were copies of ancient statuary, thought indispensable for the education of art students. The only genuinely ancient items, Moscow mathematical papyrus and story of Wenamun, had been contributed by Vladimir Ghirlandajo 3 years earlier. After the Russian capital was moved to Moscow in 1918, the Soviet government decided to transfer thousands of works from St. Petersburg's Hermitage Museum to the new capital. The entire collection of Western art from the museum room Janziev was added too. These paintings formed a nucleus of the Pushkin Museum's collections of Western art, but the most important paintings were added later from the State Museum of New Western Art. These comprised Impressionist and Post-Impressionist artwork, including top works by Van Gogh, Gauguin, Picasso, Dufresnoy, Derain and Matisse. Among them, Van Gogh's La Vigne Rouge, apparently the only painting sold during the artist's lifetime. In 1937, Pushkin's name was appended to the museum, because the Soviet Union marked the centenary of the poet's death that year. Archaeological Collection. After the World War II, the evacuated Dresden Gallery had been stored in Moscow for 10 years. The Dresden collection was finally returned to East Germany, despite strong opposition from the museum officials, notably Irina Antonova, who has been running the museum since February 1961. The Pushkin Museum is still a main depository of Troy's the so-called Priam's treasure gold hoard removed from Troy by the German archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann, and later taken by the Soviet Army from the Pushkin Museum in Berlin, as well as other artifacts taken from Germany during the Soviet occupation at the end of the Second World War. Numismatic Collection. The Pushkin Museum has a numismatic collection which is unpublished. It includes archaeological material from Central Asia, such as a hoard of Kushano-Sasanian coins acquired in 2002. Gallery. Eberswalder hoard. Priam's treasure. The Moscow mathematical papyrus. Fayum mummy portraits. Annunciation by Sandro Botticelli. Madonna and a Child by Lucas Cranach the Elder. Apparition of the Sibyl to the Emperor Augustus by Paris Borden. Ahasuerus and Haman at the Feast of Esther by Rembrandt. Death of Sophonis Bar by Giambattista Pittoni. Blue Dances by Edgar Degas. Fat-Necked by Paul Cézanne. Yvette Gilbert by Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec. Portrait of actress Jeanne Samari by Pierre-Auguste Renoir. The Night Café, Arles by Paul Gauguin. The Red Vineyard by Vincent van Gogh. Acrobat on a Ball by Pablo Picasso.